Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad and believers in Yeshua Messiah. I am Pastor Dave Sains. You are here at Hidden Manna. We are back. So glad to be back. I hope that you're having a good Sabbath morning, and that's honored that you want to be part of our conversation. And this is a brand new season for us. So we've been away for a few weeks, so I'm kind of excited about today. And let's see, to do this, Brother Max. Hey, man, good morning, bro.
Good morning, brother.
We're back. We're back.
I know, right?
It's been a couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, this is 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, it feels like a long time. I mean, 3 weeks goes by so quickly, but the older you get, the faster time goes by. Isn't that something? But no, I'm excited to be back.
Like your shirt.
Oh yeah, I like your shirt too, brother. Yeah, like we did not coordinate this.
Nope.
But you know, these are the shirts that we got at our retreat, which we didn't do a Hidden Manna after the retreat that we had, but so we really haven't had time to talk about it or anything. But man, we had a great time. I had a great time.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think people really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it feels like it was so long ago too, right?
I know. That next morning I woke up and I wanted to go to breakfast. I just automatically wanted to go to, and then I wanted to go to lunch.
Yeah, that schedule got within those 3.5 days really got in us, right?
Yeah, we got we got into a routine there. Eat food, eat God's word. Eat food, eat God's word. Eat food.
That was it. It was good. It was.
Life doesn't get any better than that, man.
No, we got spoiled too, man. It was great.
We did.
There's some good studies up there. We had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. I figured it out because, each teaching was at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So we did about 8 weeks of teaching in 3 days. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot, but I think people, they enjoyed it. Lots of questions and comments about it. And slowly but surely, I'm working all of that into, what we're doing on Wednesdays, what we're doing on Sundays. And,
I like how you connected the Sunday and Wednesday now too. It's really cool.
Yeah. So for everybody that's that may be watching, just like Brother Max said, be part of our Wednesday, be part of our Sunday, listen to it all because it's all connected. If you really want to learn what this is about, what the story is about, we've gone back to the book of Genesis and we're starting in the beginning and we're going all the way through. And I don't think we're going to read every single line in the book of Genesis because we'd be doing this for, a year or two. But, we're going to cover
time.
Yeah, it is.
If you have a lot of questions, we're starting right from the beginning.
This is it. This is the time. So here we are. We're at Hidden Manna. We got. I love the new logo.
Season 4.
Season 4. The logo looks awesome. I love the new
good job, PM.
Intro. Yeah, good job, PM. Who also, by the way, did a phenomenal job while we were away. Our retreat did a phenomenal job with the videos and the audio and music and et cetera. Everybody, it was just a great time. Hopefully we can do it again and have even more of our LMC family come together. I miss them after seeing them, hanging out with them for a few days.
It was a drag that first week or two not being able to see our friends again, right?
I know. I miss them.
Yeah.
But we had fun. We definitely had a lot of fun, and I hope everybody else did. And we'll do it again at some point. We'll do it again. But the big thing this year is going to be Passover. We're going to really try to make Passover, big.
Yeah,
but
that'd be nice.
All of that aside, here we are. We're back at Hidden Manna. We got a conversation for you guys for this morning. I want to thank everybody for that's joining in. I see names coming up on the feed there. Good morning to you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you enjoy what we do here. Every time you do, it helps us out. And make sure that you're subscribed. And leave us a comment.
Check that.
Yeah, make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment too. Let us know where you're from. You can either do it obviously in the live chat or even later on in the comment section. If you're watching this after the live broadcast, leave a comment. Tell us where you are. If you got a question about something, let us know. If there's a particular topic that you'd like for us to maybe discuss, put that out there.
Open for suggestions.
Yeah, we're open for suggestions. I do not have all the answers, not even close. But I'm willing to make the journey to try to find them and do our best. And I absolutely reserve the right to be absolutely wrong. We've been wrong so many times. The deception that the enemy has put out there is powerful, and we've all been affected by it. So because I know there's because I've heard sometimes from with I've heard some people say with regard to different teachers, well, I won't even listen to him because he does this or says this. And I get that. Everybody says something wrong. But that doesn't mean that everything they're saying is wrong.
True.
We've got to be able to test them. And people make mistakes. You just don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then once you know it, you adjust, you make mistakes, and we've got to have grace with each other concerning that, because we're far away from the first century, and things have changed, and there's a war raging, which is what we're going to talk about today. The topic comes right from Psalms 2. Why do the nations rage, or the nations raging is the title for this morning. And why don't we do that? Why don't we? Well, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just jump right into Psalms chapter 2, and we'll open up with this for this morning. This is Psalms chapter 2, and it's a short psalm, so I want to read through it, and then we'll go back and discuss it. So this is Psalms chapter 2, verse 1. This should be really familiar, to most people. It says, "What?" And I'm using the revised version today because I'm also going to look at some apocrypha books. So it might
1895, right?
Yeah, the 1895 revised version. So it might be a little bit different than what we normally use, which would be the scriptures version. So if it's a little bit different from what you guys got, just know that's why. But here we go. Psalms chapter 2, verse 1. Why do the nations rage, and the peoples imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yah and against his anointed. Of course, the word anointed there is Mashiach. Against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder, cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth or sits in the heavens shall laugh. Yah shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will tell of the decree. Yah says unto me, you are my son. This day I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve Yah with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way. For his wrath will soon be kindled. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Great psalm, man. Yes. That's just a phenomenal psalm, and I want to go all the way back to the beginning of it because again, that's the title we're talking about today. Why do the nations rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Now,
the version wasn't that bad. Didn't have any. I was expecting vowels in the King's English more.
It had a little bit of it. I saw thy, but I just switch it out for you or your.
Still the same message, right?
Still, yeah. I understand what it's saying for sure. So, why do the nations rage? So, this is kind of related to this conversation this morning, to end times. People are always asking me all the time, what do you see unfolding as the end times? And of course, within sort of the modern religious viewpoint of end times, we're all heading to this either 3 year or 3.5 year or 7 year event where we're just quite literally all hell will break loose. And then, of course, the concept of anti-Messiah and all of that. And of course, by this time, everybody should know, I do not, although obviously we have it at one point in the past, we thought that was what it was because that's what we heard. But I think that's a diversion. I think that is outside of what the actual story is really about. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for it, but yet there's still the question of, so what do we see? If it's not that kind of stuff. The idea that, first a church or, Christianity gets raptured, and then Father then turns his attention to the people of Israel in the Middle East, and then a temple is put together, and then an anti-Messiah comes, and all of that kind of stuff. If that's not going to happen, or is not what we should be looking for, again, I think that's a diversion. Then what is happening? What is the description? And you sort of get it. At least you get a bird's eye view, and you get the bird's eye view all over the Bible. I mean, just all over the Bible. And I think Psalm 2 is one of those bird's eye view, because the question is asked, why are the nations raging, right? Yeah. What are they doing? They're making war against Father. They don't want his counsel. They look at his counsel as his instruction, as what do they say? Let us break his bands. Let us cast away his cords from us. And of course, kiss the Son, lest he be angry. This is about the Son. He's going to set the Son up as king, and a king of not just Israel, king of the world. He's going to set the Son up as king, and his wrath is going to be poured out on those nations that have come against him. So the question is, and I've heard this before, and I've seen this before. Actually, we're going to get a little bit into the book of Esdras today as well, because there's a portion in Esdras that I think is kind of interesting. But normally, or what I've heard in the past is, how the nations at some point in the future are going to fight against Elohim. Now, I guess maybe today we could. I mean, if I were to think about, people in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century, let's say Messiah, though this obviously mathematically did not occur, but let's say Messiah came back in the 3rd century. What would be the big deal if the nations tried to fight against him?
Yeah, right. So yeah,
that would mean less than nothing. What are you going to do with swords and shields and horses and chariots and bows and arrows? And then, of course, we advance, we get better at killing each other, and unfortunately, we advance to gunpowder and cannonballs. So what if Messiah came back in the Middle Ages? And we had muskets and all that kind of. It's still nothing.
Yep.
I mean, we were destroying ourselves in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. But what would that mean to Father?
Yeah, right.
What would that mean to the Master returning? That's nothing. Of course, now here we are today. Machine guns, tanks and missiles and satellites and all the rest of that.
Drones, everything, right?
And drones, and we are destroying ourselves all over this planet, and we've been doing it, for a long time. Honestly, I was doing a study on this for our getaway. We just never really had the time to get around to it. But I just started going through history and just naming all of the wars to show kind of the history of man. And oh my goodness, I don't think there has been a decade. In fact, probably even less than a decade. But I'm going to be generous. I don't think that there has been a decade in all of human history where somewhere on this planet we weren't hacking each other apart.
Yeah.
We weren't killing each other. We weren't, doing all that has been going on. And
we can say for certain that anyone that's watching this in their lifetime or their father's lifetime, there hasn't been a time.
No, right? just in our short lifetime. And this is we're post World War II, right? So you've got World War II happened way, but World War I, World War II, Korea, that happened way before. And there obviously are still brethren out there who could say, yeah, I was alive during the Korean War. Maybe a baby, but it was in my lifetime. And we're just talking about American conflicts. That's not to say everything else, but just in our lifetime, what have we seen? From Vietnam is within my lifetime. Cambodia is within my lifetime. Grenada, And again, just American conflicts.
Yep.
Uh, Kuwait, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. And what I realize is as I was going through, and again, we're just talking out American stuff. That's not to say all the other nations all over the world that are just that are hacking each other apart. I know that you watch Redacted as a news broadcast, and I really recommend to everybody to watch Redacted. It's a really, really good news program. But they've been highlighting the horrible war that's been going on in Ethiopia.
Yep.
And nobody knows about it. The news doesn't care about it, and yet hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in this ethnic war that they're having in Ethiopia. Now, supposedly they just started some sort of peace conference after a couple of years, but my goodness, and the same thing happened during the Clinton administration in Rwanda.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? In Rwanda, that ethnic cleansing, hundreds of thousands of people died, and the world just kind of, so bottom line is war and our tendency to want to kill each other, invade each other, take from one another has been going on forever. And so here we are today. And as I'm going through the study, I'm saying, oh my goodness, I really don't think there has been a decade, a solid 10 years in all of human history where somewhere, maybe a portion of the planet seemed peaceful, because most people say, well, the last 70 years has been peaceful. It's been peaceful for us, but it hasn't been peaceful on the world. And so if you how do you judge a person? How do you know what a person's going to do in the future? You judge them by what they've done in the past.
That's right. Right?
Because we really don't change. Whatever our nature is, we normally will do that. And so, so what's coming? People ask, what's coming? What's coming is what has always been. War.
That's right.
The tendency of man to just, and look where we are. Look where we are with what's going on in Africa. Look where we are, a potential invasion of Haiti, of all places.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't even know about that.
People don't even know about that. The potential invasion of Haiti. We've got more than a potential of an invasion in Ukraine. At some point, it looks like we're going to be involved. I mean, we are involved, right? We're keeping the thing going. And now we're seeing, it's amazing. We're watching on buses, on the sides of buses, in the subways, big signs that are all over the place now that are telling us what to do in case of a nuclear attack.
We got
what you do
North
in case
Korea.
what you do in case of a nuclear attack? Nothing.
Yeah. You don't go hide under your desk.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do, but it's it's being floated out there now. It's and you see this when governments and leaders, when they want to sort of normalize something, they'll put it out there a little bit so it gets into the conscience. And so what's coming? I think more of what has already been going on, but to a level perhaps unimaginable. And
we forgot to even mention North Korea. What's going on, right?
All over the world.
Crazy. All over.
It's all over the world. So the potential for and I mean, we're just talking about war, not famine and sickness. We just shut down the whole world. So though we are living those things. But the point I wanted to kind of bring out for today is this version, or this Psalm 2 is asking, why did the nations rage? And it's not about, even though we read in Revelation 19, and in fact, it's probably just worth it to go to Revelation 19 and take a quick look. Because Revelation 19 is the coming of the Master, right? It's the description, at least, of what it would look like. And I'm going to pick it up around verse 16, and let me put this up so people can see it. Verse 14.
Around 16, you said?
I'm going to start at verse 14. Of course, it says that his name is called the word of Elohim. He is the topic of the story. And the armies in verse 14.
Want me to read it for you?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, sure.
All right. And the
Actually,
armies.
read
This is
read right up to the end, to verse 21.
okay, and this is actually in the Blue Letter Bible, and the only one that's letting me pull it up right now is the Hebrew name version.
That's okay. Go for it.
From 14. The armies which are in heaven followed him on white horses, clothed in white, pure fine linen. Out of his mouth proceed a sharp, double-edged sword, that with it he should strike the nations. He will rule them with a rod of iron. He treads the winepress, and of the fierceness of the wrath of Elohim, Shaddai. And he has on his garment and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I was reading yesterday, and I forgot what version, and it actually says that it's more likely a flag that he has, because a lot of people think that, the tattoo.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. It's an ensign. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. I've heard people say that. Look, you can get tattoos because Yeshua had a tattoo.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at that, but that's kind of funny.
Yep.
We can find any justification for anything if we really
right?
want to. No, Yeshua does not have a tat that says King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Oh my goodness. Okay, 17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun. He cried with a loud voice, saying to all the birds that fly in the sky, Come, be gathered together to the great supper of Elohim, that you may eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and of those who sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and slave, and small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the Eretz, the heavens, and their armies gathered together to make war against him who sat on the horse and against his army. The beast was taken, and with him the false prophet who worked with the signs in his sight, with which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. The rest were killed with the sword of him who sat on the horse, the sword which came forth out of his mouth. All the birds were filled with their flesh.
All right. So obviously a reference to the coming of Messiah and the conflict that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Except, and this is just me throwing it out, there's just a conversation, two guys having a conversation. What kind of battle do you think, let's say it plays out the way it actually sounds here.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of battle do you think that humanity could actually wage?
Yeah, what chance do they have?
Against Messiah? That's ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all of our technology, even with all the advances we have, the weaponry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it is ultimately to Yah. Would that be any different than coming at him with swords and shields and horses and bows and arrows?
Nope.
This is not a description of a battle where humanity has
where it would even be a threat.
Any threat and any chance whatsoever. This is a description, I think, of events that have been going on for a while, but this is the culmination of them when finally the master says, enough.
Mm-hmm.
But the nations raging, because obviously we're trying to connect this to Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage? This isn't the nations raging. This is sort of the end product of the nations raging.
Mm-hmm.
But the nations have been raging for a long time. And we have been at war with Elohim for a long time. And I think that's the real war. Not the bombs, not the missiles. And again, who knows? Obviously, if it happens in our lifetime, we'll see it. But I think this is talking about something deeper, something bigger.
I looked it up yesterday. Even the Hebrew word rage is the Hebrew 7283 ragas or ragas, and it's really to conspire and to plot. Right? It's not just to have make battle. Where we get this conception of, like you said, tanks and F-15s trying to go against the Messiah. It's really how in our hearts we've conspired. We don't want nothing to do with what he said to do.
So the conspiring or the war against Elohim is not something that is just going on today.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that has been going on right from the beginning, I guess you could
Yep.
say, since there have been nations from the time of Babel
Mm-hmm.
all the way to where we are now. That rage, that rebellion, that war against Father is not tanks and guns. That's the war we do against ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's this conspiring. It is this desire to not want anything at all to do with God.
And it goes right back to Bereshit, right? We've had a wicked heart from the beginning, you know.
The Psalms 2, the verse that we opened up with, which is telling us, look, this is the story. So the nations rage, and what does Father do? It says Father laughs. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't matter what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what we invent. We are not going to stop what the story. It's impossible. And then, of course, at the end, it says you ought to kiss the Son, because when his wrath is kindled, then we're going to see Revelation 19. Then we're going to see, the final, put an end to what's going on. But it's the nations raging that I want us to kind of focus on for a little bit this morning. This verse is also used by the apostles in the book of Acts. So Peter actually quotes Psalm 2 in relation to something else. And I think it's real interesting to take a look at. So let me pull up, it's Acts chapter 4. And we, and this is one of the ways that we absolutely, when you see Peter or Paul or one of the apostles quoting what we would call the Torah, the Old Testament, and saying what this was saying is happening right now. Yeshua does the same thing, right? When he starts his ministry, he reads Isaiah and he says, this scripture is now fulfilled in your hearing. And it was, right? It was absolutely fulfilled as Yeshua is saying it, but its fulfillment continues on after that, right? The fulfillment doesn't just happen in that millisecond as Yeshua is saying the words. What he's actually telling us is this is beginning to be fulfilled. The start of this is right here, because he's still opening up the eyes of the blind. He's still setting free the captives, right? He's still binding up the brokenhearted. He's still comforting those who mourn in Zion. He's still giving beauty for ashes, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that he did it and it's done, it's done. But this is, this is what he was talking about, and then it continues to go on. And I think it's the same thing with the why do the nations rage, because we're going to get a definition of it here in Acts chapter 4, or an interpretation of it in Acts chapter 4. But that's and it's true, but that doesn't mean it stopped. As a matter of fact, it hasn't stopped. It's actually gotten worse, and it's gotten bigger as time has gone on. So here's Acts chapter 4, and I forgot what verse.
You start at 23, right?
All right, let me just pull it up first. Acts chapter 4 and verse 23. And so you guys can see it on the screen. All right, there it is. So this is actually, they get arrested, right? They get arrested. This is the whole a prayer. This is actually part of a prayer in Acts chapter 4. Peter and John are arrested, right? So this is the first time.
The Sanhedrin,
right? And all the garbage that they go through with that. Finally, they get out, right? They get out from being arrested, and so this prayer begins. And the prayer actually starts in verse 23. You want to read through some of that? Actually, you want to read?
Sure, I'll start 23
to 31.
Yep. On their release, Peter and John went back to their own people and reported all that the chief priests and the elders had said to them. And when they heard this, they raised their voices together in prayer to Elohim. Sovereign Yah, they said, you made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. You spoke by the Holy Spirit through the mouth of your servant, our father David. Why do the nations rage and the people plot in vain?
All right, there it is. So that's he's quoting Psalm 2. All right, Go ahead, brother.
26. And the kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers band together against Yah and against his anointed one. Indeed, Herod and Pontius Pilate met together with the Gentiles and the people of Israel in the city to conspire against your holy servant Yeshua, whom you've anointed. They did what your power and will had decided beforehand should happen. Now, Yah, consider their threats and enable your servants to speak your word with great boldness. Stretch out your hand to heal and perform signs and wonders through the name of your holy servant Yeshua. And after they prayed, the place where they were meeting was shaken, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and spoke the word of Elohim boldly.
All right. I love this, amazing story.
It's a cool story, yeah.
Right. But they're putting it together here, or Peter and them, they're putting it together. And he really makes a really interesting point that we're not going to deal with today, but I'll certainly I'll mention it, but we'll get into this in much more detail later. Notice he says all of this happened because Father wanted it to happen. This is part of the story, and we're going to get into at some point the whole idea of predestination and foretold and foreknowledge and all of that and how that really fits. But it's kind of interesting because you're reading here, even they're realizing, no, this had to happen. This is according to the story that Father is telling us, and we're living the story that Father is telling us. And of course, that doesn't take away our decision-making process as the story is going on, but it seems that Father's going to use whatever decisions we make, pro or con, to his glory. And no matter what, his story is going to get told. But we'll get more into that. But he quotes it. He says, why do the nations rage? What is that? Verse 25, who said by the mouth of our father David the servant, why do the Gentiles, the nations rage, and the people imagine vain things? Their interpretation of it, the way they are looking at it right there in their time, and it is 100% valid. They're saying the fulfillment of this verse is that Pilate, who represents the nations, right? He's Rome. Rome is not just, Italian people. Rome is the world. It's the UN of its day, right? So if the UN does something, it's 193 countries doing something. If Rome does something, it's the nations doing something. Pilate, Herod, the Sanhedrin, that they all conspire together. And let's look at the way he actually puts it. I think it's verse
27.
27.
Does my voice sound like a robot? I'm hearing weird feedback.
No, right. I don't think so. I hear you fine, unless that's your normal voice.
No, it is not.
No, it is not. By your command. Well, some people might get that reference, by your command. That's Battlestar Galactica, the original Battlestar Galactica. Oh my goodness. That is, wait, don't tell me. That's Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Right? Buck Rogers.
Love that one.
Buck Rogers. But nothing compares to Live Long and Prosper. Don't get into a sci-fi discussion with me.
That's it. You want to get Pastor Dave's mind off track? So let's talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, right? We'll have to do another another live feed for that one. So verse 27 says, "Of a truth, in this city and against your holy servant Yeshua, whom you have anointed, both Herod, whom you did anoint, meaning anointed Yeshua, both Herod, who." It's neat. That it says that, because what does Psalm 2 tell us? You've done this against my anointed. And he's telling us the holy servant, Yeshua, whom was anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate with the Gentiles and the peoples of Israel were gathered together to do whatsoever thy hand and thy counsel foreordained to come to pass. And what did they do? They conspired against him. Right? We know Herod.
Gentiles and of Israel, yeah.
Right. Everybody had a hand in this. So he's equating here this conspiring with, the story of the cross, with the story of their betrayal, the story of his death, and obviously them trying to put down now the story as it follows later. So that's the interpretation, and that's solid. And, here's the apostles telling us this is what David was talking about. But that's just the beginning. That's not the whole thing. And the nations have not stopped raging since this time.
Mm-hmm.
And nor have we stopped conspiring against the anointed.
Mm-hmm.
And changing things and bending things and twisting things and adding things and all of the things that Father ultimately is going to look at, as Psalm 2 says, and he's going to laugh.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean obviously, ha ha ha, look at those guys. No, it means this is foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
What you are doing is working against Father, who has nothing but our best interest in mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You're working against something wonderful
It benefits you.
that benefits us, and yet, what do we want to do? We want to cast off his bands. We want to, not listen to, not understand what this story is actually truly about. So the nation's raging is right here in Acts chapter 4. But it goes on. And it's been going on, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the conspiring is getting more demonic and horrific. And and if we were doing this with less than 500 million people on the planet in Yeshua's day, if I don't even know if that's somebody maybe look that up. I know there was nowhere even near 1 billion people on the planet at that time. What do you think's going on with 8 billion people?
That's right.
And we can see it in our culture. Our culture is conspiring.
Yep.
It is raging against any instruction that comes from Father.
Not to go too far off track, but just with population, I was watching something. They were talking about fuel, and they were saying the last time, I think in the 60s, whatever it was, and at that point there was almost 3 billion less people. So in that short period, you're talking, from the 60s till now, or whatever it was. It was in this,
Yeah.
it wasn't too long ago that the Earth has almost 8 billion.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it could have been just a couple of 100 million at that point, if that.
Well, I've seen this, spoken of multiple times, that there's more people on the planet today than if you added up everybody that has ever been on the planet, all the way up to, 200 years ago. There's more people today than if you add all of them up. So, I mean, we've certainly multiplied as fish, another reference to something else. We've definitely multiplied as fish. We've grown. But the whole time, what have we done? As a majority of the world, we've raged against the Messiah. We've raged against the Father.
My phone heard me too on Google. The world population has grown rapidly, particularly over the past century. 1900, there were fewer than 2 billion people.
Wow.
In 1900. So look at the difference.
Which, listen, if there's 2 billion people in 1900, then there's not even close to 500 million people in the days of Yeshua. Not even close to that. So it gives some perspective as to where we are today and the problems that we're facing today, and the raging of the nations that continues all the way up to this day. Now, so there's what it means in Acts chapter 4, but it's gone on. Here's something really interesting. Now, this comes from the book of Second Esdras, and let me see if I can pull that up here.
Yeah, I haven't seen this. I haven't read this. I do have the Apocrypha, but it's the one book they don't have in there.
All right, let me see if I can actually find it.
And if you want to share, PD, what version of that app is that again?
This is the U version. So if anybody has,
a lot of people have it on the app, on your phone. It just says Holy Bible in the brown, and you look up the RV 1895 version. You can read along. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm pulling up my phone.
What did I do wrong here?
Let me know if you can. I got Second Esdras chapter 13. You said.
I don't know how to pull this up. I think I got us out of here. Well, it's going to be Second Ezra chapter 13. Hopefully, I don't know if I can pull this up, so I'm not gonna pull it up. I mean,
If you want, I can read it. I got it on my phone. I just gotta know what verse you want me to start.
I can read it, but I got all sorts of verses instead of the actual book.
I gotcha.
And what was that? That's the revised version of the Apocrypha. That's the 1895, right?
Yeah, RV 1895.
That's Esdras 13. Let's see if this comes up. No, it just comes up single verses. I'm sorry, guys. I can't pull this up. I thought I could. All right.
So, like I said, if you want to go into that app yourself, guys, you can pull it up.
Yeah, you guys. Hopefully, I'm sorry that I can't pull it up, but here's Second Esdras. Now, Second Esdras is obviously one of the Apocrypha books. So, I've read this multiple times. There's some really neat stuff in it. When it was actually written is kind of iffy for me. I'm really not sure, because historically, or at least traditionally, people say that this is written at the time of Ezra. The time of 5th century before Messiah, and that is that old of a book. But modern archaeology, which doesn't necessarily make it right, just because modern archaeology says so, sort of plots the book anywhere between 70 A.D. to 100 A.D., so after Messiah. And I kind of get why they do that, because even as I read some of the book of Esdras, you're reading it and you're saying, oh my goodness, this is like almost word for word what Yeshua said. And it obviously it mentions the Son, it mentions explanation of prophecies that we don't get anywhere else. So either there's one or two ways of looking at this. Either this is a book that was written prior to the coming of Messiah and has just amazing, phenomenal insights, which I don't discount, because I know other books.
Could be a reason why they yanked it.
I know that there are other books like this that have an incredible accuracy, Isaiah accuracy to what was going to happen. So I don't discount it just for that. But there are some things I've read in Esdras and I'm like, and it might be that I just don't understand it yet. Something about children and talking by a certain age. I'm like, I don't know about that. But maybe it's translated wrong. So it's either a book of history that's been here for a long time, and if it is, that's amazing, or this is a book of insights to what believers after Messiah were thinking.
Now they can put together.
And now they're and honestly, to me, that sounds more amazing. That sounds more amazing than it being a prophetic book that happened before Messiah came. Because and
like I said, there's a big reason why Rome didn't want this in the canon.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it was in there till, what is it,
1895?
Yeah, just prior to the 1900s. And then all of a sudden, it and many other books are taken out. And so, either or. It's either this monumental historical book, or it is an absolutely incredible window into the mind of the Netzarim after Jerusalem's fall, after all these things. Book of Revelation,
kind of like what we can do now when we look back in the past and now say, oh, okay, and we put it together. This could be one of those, right?
So whichever one it is, I'll leave that to people much more intelligent than me to figure out. But as far as content, it does talk about the coming of the Master, and this battle, like Revelation 19 talks about the end battle. But the war that's been going on against Messiah has been going on for a long, long time. Anyway, so here's verse 20. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start at verse 21, because I think what he's talking about here is the difference between a comparison verse to 1 Thessalonians 4, where it says that the dead of Messiah will be raised first, and those who are alive and remain, and which is a real interesting study in and of itself. But so he has this dream, and he's getting the interpretation of the dream. And the interpretation of the dream, in verse 25, it says, he answered me and said, I will tell you the interpretation of the vision. It's a vision, not a dream. And I will also explain to you the things that you have mentioned. As for what you said about those who survive and concerning those who do not survive, I think he's talking about the dead and the living. This is the interpretation. So I would immediately, as I'm reading this, I would connect this to 1 Thessalonians 4, because he talks about those who are alive and remain at the coming of the Master will not precede those who have already died. It says, as for what you said about those who survive and concerning those who do not survive, this is the interpretation. The one who brings the peril at that time will protect those who fall into peril and who have works and faith toward the Almighty. Understand, therefore, that those who are left are more blessed than those who have died. So I wonder if this is a reference to that very verse, that concept of what we would call resurrection, or what colloquially is called rapture amongst a modern religion today. Verse 25 then goes on and says, this is the interpretation of the vision. As for you seeing a man come up out of the heart of the sea, this is he of whom the Most High has been keeping for many ages, and who will himself deliver his creation, and he will direct those who are left. And as for you seeing wind and fire and storm coming out of his mouth, very similar to Revelation 19, except it's not wind, fire, and storm. Revelation 19 says it's a sword, right? It's a sword. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword that comes out of his mouth. To do what? To kill. And as for his not holding a spear or a weapon of war, yet destroying the onrushing multitude that came to conquer him, this is the interpretation. So even here it's talking about the nations wanting to conquer, to come against, to conspire against. Verse 29 says, these days are coming when the Most High will deliver those who are on the earth, and bewilderment of mind shall come over those who inhabit the earth. This to me strikes very similar to Luke chapter 21, where Messiah says there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on earth bewilderment, right? The hearts of men.
The app even brings you a little clue. It says Matthew 19, Mark 13, Luke 21, and Matthew 24.
Yeah, so there's some amazing connections here that again kind of make me lean more to the idea that this might be the way they were thinking, having understood now who Messiah is, having gotten the book of Revelation, and now hear these visions. It says, verse 31, they shall plan to make war against one another, city against city, place against place, people against people, and kingdom against kingdom. Well, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? And here's, I think, another way that we have to think about end times when we think about end times. And this is how Father does so many things. He gives us an example first, like a miniature example of it occurs first before the major example or the major prophetic meaning then happens later on. As for instance, the temple is destroyed prior to 70 AD, right? And so we read Jeremiah, we read Ezekiel, all these books about the destruction of the temple. And while that was a real historical event, what it was really telling us about was the upcoming destruction of the temple in 70 AD. And what the destruction of the temple in 70 AD was really telling us about is what's been going on against the temple of God, which is the human body, which is, we are the temple. We are the place where Father desires to dwell. And the battle that will come to destroy this temple. Because I've always wondered, I've said this before in some of our studies, I think we were doing, Thessalonians, that all of the descriptions of the day of the Lord, when you go throughout the Torah, the prophets, it's always about the destruction of Jerusalem. The day of the Lord is the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, the term thief in the night is a temple term, right? The high priest, they're supposed to be keeping the fires going. The high priest comes, the temple is
Dump
not
some
doing,
coals.
dumps some hot coals, burns them up, etc., etc. That's the thief in the night. And so that absolutely happens in 70 AD. Hot coals are poured upon a temple that has fallen asleep, that has no more use to it. The fire has gone out. But I think that was an example, an earthly example, or a smaller example of what's coming, because we still have a temple, right? Mm-hmm. You and I are the temple. All human beings are the true temple that the earthly temple was an example of, a shadow of, a type of. We are the temple. And so when it describes the coming of the master, as Paul does in Thessalonians, as a thief in the night, I think that's how we can make that comparison and say, yes, this is a temple story of a high priest coming back and finding that the temple is not doing what it was supposed to do, or it's got idolatry in it, or all of the different things that we may be doing with the temple. And just like he destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, he will also destroy all of those within the temple that have abused it, that have let the fire go out, which is, I believe, what Revelation, all that have accepted the mark of the beast, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's an earthly example, and then there's a bigger example later. So I'm reading this: wars, rumors of wars, city, people. That's what happened prior to the destruction of Jerusalem, but that's also what's been happening for the last 2,000 years. Right? The world is still raging. So it happened for the destruction of the temple, and it is still happening, except now not now on an 8 billion person scale versus whatever this was. So it goes on to say, verse 32, when these things take place and the signs occur that I showed you before, then my son will be revealed, whom you saw as a man coming up from the sea. And again, that verse right there makes me really kind of lean in that way, that this is after the resurrection, that this book, there may be more validity to the idea of it being written after. Verse 33, then when all the nations hear his voice, all the nations shall leave their own lands and the warfare that they have against one another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as you saw, wishing to come and conquer him. So
that's Revelation 19.
There it is. There's Revelation 19. So nations have been raging for a long time. And how do we rage? We rage by killing each other. We've raged by slaughtering each other, by war, famine, pestilence, disease. I mean, just, the list goes on and on and on and on. And all the time that we're doing it, while we are killing each other, while tragedy is coming against us, what we have really been raging against, or conspiring against, is Father's word, is the story. We've been kicking against the goads, like Paul, right? Paul's he believed, but he was doing crazy religious stuff, and he's like, why are you kicking against the goads? And so what we have been doing is raging against the Father, is raging against the Son. And we're still doing it today, except today, my goodness, and I know every person that gets older says, in my day, we wouldn't have done this in my day. And I feel old saying it, but my goodness, it's the truth.
Yep.
Look at what's going on all around us. We are absolutely raging against any instruction. Man, the fact that you have an entire political party that wants nothing to do with modern Christianity or Judaism, but has gone to the point of saying that it's okay to allow things to be done to our children that will scar them for life, to make
before
life
puberty too.
We've got to obviously be, and that we even have to be so careful as to how we speak about it. Because the world is raging against what I would think is just common sense, but more than common sense, the instruction of Father. He made them male and female. And so what we're watching is the planet raging at war with our God, at war with the story. And it's coming out in our politics, which I think I was talking with Matt yesterday. You know, what is politics? It's religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's religion of a different sort, but it's a religion nonetheless. It's an anti-religion. Like if you really talk about it, it's an anti-religion, but it's a religion. There's nothing on
what they hold up in worship. Yeah.
There's nothing on this planet that isn't religion. And I know we like to separate and say, well, you know, we really, you know, we want to separate religion from politics. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely impossible because that's what it is. It truly is. So the world is raging. We're watching it. And that we are putting this forward as normal.
Oh my goodness, it's true.
That this is you know this, and we don't even have time to go through it, but this is Romans 1.
Yeah.
This is what Romans 1 is telling us. This is the outcome of the nations raging, and it's not just that. That's one thing. It's the teaching of our children to hate each other. To separate each other,
race theory,
by ethnicity,
everything.
And I mean,
and there's plenty of YouTube channels that you can watch. Mark Dice, Benny Johnson. You can see all these things because a lot of this stuff they won't talk on mainstream media, right? They won't even bring it up. But James Klug, I was telling you the other day, I was watching it and they were interviewing people on the street about I don't want to say the word again because I know YouTube is looking for certain words to flag, but a time of a life when a kid goes through their changes, let's just say, is it okay to have these things done? And these people were like, sure, as long as the kid thinks it's cool and the mom and dad and then he asked them, do you think it's okay for children to be abused? And of course they're like, no. And he goes, so you don't think it's abusive to have body parts removed and to have their time in their life when they need to go through these chemical changes being done to block them and all that, and then when they hear their ridiculous thought out loud, then they get angry with you and they don't want to talk. They want they want to hit you. But yeah, it's just crazy the whole AI movement where they want to mix human with robotic chips in your brain. And
yeah, I know everybody's all pro Elon, but
yeah.
But that's what Elon wants, right? They want to integrate us, hack us into the net, and man, we can honestly, this discussion can go into the foods we eat, right? The things they're doing to our foods, the pumping of medication, into our bodies, the huge pharma controlling. The pharmaceutical industrial complex. I mean, we are absolutely raging against the things of Father.
Yep.
And
everything
ultimately, everything He created, it's about Gaia, it's about the planet, it's about it's all religion. It is all religion. Esdras goes on to say, let me just finish this up here. It says, then when all the nations hear His voice. So I think that's the shout. I think this is Matthew 24 that he's referring to, right? When they see the sign of the Son of Man, so there's something that's visibly seen, right? The sign often refers to the heavens, but then they're going to hear a shout, the voice. The nation shall leave their own lands and the warfare and they have against one another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as you saw, wishing to come and conquer him. So, if this is if what he's saying is literal, which I don't know. But the only thing that seems to unify, or at least in this story, that would unify the world from the hatred and the killing and the murder and all the crazy stuff we do to each other, is if we turn our attention specifically against the coming Son. Against the Messiah, which is kind of crazy. And I remember years and years and years ago, I had a earth science teacher, Mr. Hermsdorf, 9th or 10th grade earth science teacher. Loved the guy. Great guy. He was all into UFOs and all the rest of that kind of crazy stuff. And I remember him one time saying, you know what, the only thing that would ever unify our planet, and I think it was back when, what was that movie with Will Smith? He's the fighter pilot, fights the alien, Independence Day. Yeah. Right, yeah. He was saying the only thing that would actually bring the world together would be some sort of an alien invasion, right? That's when we stop killing each other. And that's exactly what the premise of the movie was. That's what brings everybody together. And then, of course, the next one after that. So the only thing that would unify the world is what they would consider a common enemy. And who's the common enemy? Father. And the son, the king, to who's going to inherit all of this. It says, let me just finish reading this up. An innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as you saw, wishing to come and conquer him. This is verse 35 of 2 Ezra 13. It says, but he shall stand on the top of Mount Zion, and Zion shall come and be made manifest to all people, prepared and built, as you saw the mountain carved without hands. Now, this is really interesting stuff we just don't have time to get into. Then he, my son, will reprove the assembled nations for their ungodliness. This was symbolized by the storm, and will reproach them to their face with their evil thoughts and their torments with which they are to be tortured, which were symbolized by the flames, and will destroy them without effort by means of the law, which was symbolized by the fire. That's pretty cool stuff.
Wow.
That's pretty cool stuff. So where are we? What's going on? The nations are raging. All around us. And again, we can have some crazy conversations into how it's going on and all the rest of that. But, I wouldn't worry about a 3.5-year period. I wouldn't worry about a 7-year period. And I'm not saying you should even worry, period. But as far as understanding, guys, we're in it right now. Right now is the days of Noah. Right now are the days of Lot. Right now. So I know everybody wants to look for something that's coming, but it's been here. It's been here a long, long time, and the nations have been raging. And what do we need to do? We need to kiss the Son. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and his wrath be kindled, but a little. But a little. What defense could we ever truly put up against what the Father's will is? Nothing.
Nada.
Nada, nunca, nel, yet. I don't even know what other language to say that
Put in the comment any other word.
Any other word for no there is, but, nope. Not going to happen. All right. So that's kind of our conversation for this morning.
Yeah.
Hope you guys found that interesting. We got some neat topics to talk about in the upcoming weeks. And, we're going to get into all sorts of different things. And again, if you guys have a suggestion, something you want us to try to cover, we'll try to do it best we can. Again, we don't claim to have all the answers. We're just having a discussion. We're just having a discussion, and we're asking y'all to open up our eyes.
Amen.
All right, brother. You last word?
Oh, thank you. That was good to be back. It was feel normal again, right? It was a little bit weird, but just want to let everyone know, enjoy your Sabbath. I haven't said that in a while, huh?
Yeah.
And again, thank you everyone for chiming in. And just a reminder, like PD said, take a double check at your subscription. I've been noticing on my personal account, stuff that I had subscribed to has been mysteriously taken off. So just make sure you subscribe, just so we can keep that algorithm up there so people can actually see some truth. And that's about it. But I love everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great day with your family. And just have a chill day. And you have fun today, buddy. I know you have a big day.
Yeah, we got a good day. I do want to make just a quick mention. I put this out in Living Manna. Just to everybody to please keep Sister Stephanie Robato in prayer. Her husband just passed 2 days ago. And so, please keep her in prayer. Funerals coming up, I think on Tuesday. We'll put out more information through our notifications to let everybody know. But keep her in prayer. Obviously, she's going through a very, very difficult time, but she's part of the LMC family. We want to lift her up, and our condolences at the passing of Anthony, but also the Brown family, who's a Rosemary Brown, very close friend of LMC, has been for a long time. She's going through a similar situation with her husband, David Brown, very, very ill. I think they've just taken him off life support, and I don't even know what the update is yet. Somebody may know that. You could put that in the comments if you have that. But she also is in the middle of mourning right now. And yet we serve a God who will comfort us even in our mourning. Amen. So just keep those people in prayer. We appreciate that. All right, guys. I love you, brother. Talk to you later.
Love you too, man.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning as we continue with the next part in our series from the beginning. You're gonna really get into it. If you want to know what the story is about, be part of our Wednesday and our weekend Sunday messages, and keep up with the reading. It should be about up to chapter 6 in the book of Genesis. Would be really cool. All right. Besides that, guys, have a wonderful rest of your Sabbath. Enjoy your day. Yah bless and Shabbat Shalom.